على الهوا سوا على الهوا يأتيكم عبر أثير إذاعة
صباح الخير أمريكا It was my job to save people until one night I was in a car accident. I couldn't work, and the insurance company, they fought me every step of the way. I didn't know what to do.
Call 866 Your Rights.
I'm Jumana Kairouz. I know what it's like to be refused your rights. When you call, my attorneys and I will fight to get you the compensation you deserve.
Jumana handled my medical benefits and lost wages, and she got me a settlement.
If you have been injured, call 866 Your Rights. Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody is doing well today. This is Attorney Jumana Kairouz. With everybody's permission, today's radio program is going to be in English. Having said that, we know that a number of our listeners do speak Arabic, do understand English, and may choose to call and ask us their question in Arabic or in English. That's fine. The number to call here today, and the subject of the program today, is Social Security and Workmen's Compensation. The number to call is 248-557-3300. Correct, James? Okay. I'd like to welcome today in the studio our producer James, Mr. Hassan Hamid, our wonderful videographer, and attorney Ron Puzio, who is one of my associates who has joined my firm in March of 2012, so it hasn't been quite a year, who has 25 years of experience doing car accidents, auto law, as well as Social Security and Workmen's Compensation. Ron, welcome.
Good morning, Jumana. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning to you. You are fresh and alert, driving all the way from Flint.
You have to be.
Yes. You have about 25 years of experience. The reason, Ron, we wanted you to come here today is because in the Middle Eastern community in particular, a large number of those people do apply for Social Security. So I know you do in my firm, and before joining my firm for 25 years, auto law. However, you specialize in Social Security as well as in workmen's compensation.
Yes, I do.
Okay. And it is in that context that I'm having you here today, because there is really a big need for better understanding, particularly of Social Security law within the Middle Eastern community. The greatest majority of this program's listeners are Middle Eastern, and a very large number of them, though not all of them, do speak and understand English, so they are able to follow us through this program. Social Security, number one, and if I may ask you, Ron, to put it in very plain language, because some of this lingo about Social Security is a little bit obscure in my opinion. What is the difference? Well, let me begin by asking you, who qualifies for SSI?
Okay, Social Security has two basic benefits. One is Social Security Disability, and one is SSI.
Okay, so SSD and SSI.
Yes. For both benefits, you need to be disabled, number one.
Okay, disabled physically or mentally?
Either. Or both. Either or both, as long as you're disabled and unable to engage in substantial gainful activity. That's what Social Security calls work, basically.
Okay.
And so that's the similarities between the two.
Okay, so whether to apply to SSI or whether to apply to SSD, you have to show that you are disabled physically or mentally or both, and as a result, unable to engage in a gainful activity, which is another word for work.
Yes, correct.
Okay. And who gets SSD and who gets SSI?
All right, here's where the line is drawn, so to speak. For SSI benefits, those are generally people who do not have a significant work history, meaning you have to work basically 10 years in a row, so you earn enough credits. I'm trying not to get too technical here.
Right.
But for regular Social Security disability, that's based on your work record.
Okay.
So people who work regularly, have a full-time job, and have worked for at least 10 years in a row,
yes,
they can qualify for Social Security disability based on their work record. Now, people for SSI are people with less than a good work record or possibly no work record at all.
And if I may add that in our Middle Eastern community, a large number of those people fall in that category. They will be disabled, but they haven't worked. A lot of women, for example, who are stay-at-home women but have a disability, and as a result of that will apply for SSI.
And that's correct.
Okay.
And you have to have another caveat to that is for SSI benefits, they also look at assets you have. So if you also own a home, car, have stocks, bonds, bank accounts, Social Security looks at that. So you have to be limited in those areas also in order to collect the benefit.
That is correct, and that's one of the things that I get questions about all the time. What can you own or what can you have and preserve your Social Security? You know, this is a topic we can talk on forever, and because there are so many questions about it. Is it true that once you obtain SSI or SSD, Medicaid and or Medicare become kind of automatic?
Yes, with SSI benefits, you're an automatic Medicaid, and you stay on Medicaid.
Automatic, no ands, ifs, or buts about it.
Correct.
You get SSI, which is a monthly check. You get with it Medicaid.
Correct.
Okay.
And for Social Security disability, SSD, you go on your Medicare.
Okay.
Which is the federal.
Okay. And is there any benefit to Medicaid over Medicare or Medicare over Medicaid?
No real significant difference. Just that the Medicaid benefit is run by the state, Medicare is run by the federal government. Basically the same benefit.
Okay. When somebody applies for, let's say somebody who has worked intermittently and has a disability, she or he does not know whether to apply for SSD or SSI, or is it so clear that you have to have worked consistently for 10 years?
No, it's not clear.
So it's not that clear. So what is the first step? Somebody listening today thinks that she or he has a disabling, a qualifying disability and wants to apply. Where does that person go? Who does that person contact? What does that person do?
Okay, first of all, if the person has worked at all in their life, you generally want to try to qualify for your Social Security disability benefit.
Is that because the monthly payments are higher than SSI?
One of the reasons.
Okay.
Another reason is there's not a lot of limitations on that benefit, meaning you could get your Social Security disability benefit, you could receive a pension benefit, you can have stocks, bonds, you can receive payments from other...
So you can have more assets.
Correct.
So SSD gives more liberty or more freedom to the person having it, but SSI limits you in how much you can have in your bank account and whatnot. Is it true that if you have SSI, at no time can you have more than, if you are an individual, $2,000 in your bank account?
That's correct.
What happens? We in my office, for example, we get in auto accidents. We have so many people who have SSI or have applied for SSI or are anticipating getting SSI, and then they get in an auto accident and they get payments. What do they do if they deposit any one of those checks that we give them, and if it amounts to more than $2,000, or if it results in more than $2,000 netted into their bank account? What happens then?
Okay. For each month that they have $2,000 or more, or any other asset equaling or greater than $2,000, Social Security will deduct that, meaning they will take their Social Security benefit away for that month. So what I always say is, if they receive a check, say from your office, at the first of the month.
My office is your office.
That's correct.
Our office.
Our office.
Yeah.
But your show.
Takes a village.
It does. And when they receive that check, and let's say it's from our office, I tell them that they must show that they have used or dispersed the money by the end of the month, so that Social Security will not use that against them.
So it's okay if they deposit the check at any point in time before the end of the month, netting more than $2,000, as long as by the end of the month they have used up that money or brought it to below $2,000?
Yes.
Is it that easy and that clear? Can we unequivocally tell listeners today that if they get a check over $2,000 and they're on SSI, as long as they bring that balance to below $2,000 by the end of the month, they're okay?
I would say they're okay.
Yeah.
They're going to have to show what their expenses are. They just can't say, I bought bubble gum for my kid for $2,000.
Right.
They're going to have to show their expenses, what they paid, where the money went, because Social Security will want to know that.
Okay. Can you have, and I know we're jumping all over the place, and I'm being told we need to take a quick break. Maybe after the break, I want to ask you, can you be on SSI and own a home? Can you be on SSI? Don't answer, please, after the break with your permission. Can we be on SSI and own a car? And so forth. So after the break, we will answer these questions.
سوا على الهواء على الهواء سوا على الهواء يأتيكم عبر أثير إذاعة
صباح الخير صباح الخير أمريكا أمريكا.
Good morning again. This is Attorney Joumana Kirouz from our monthly program Sawa Ala Al-Hawa, hosted by me once a month, but really Leila Husseini's radio show. And with me in the studio today is one of my associates, Attorney Ron Puzio, who I invited here today to talk to our listeners about a much an interesting topic to them, one that touches so many lives, particularly in the Middle Eastern community, the subject of SSI, SSD, and he happens to also be an expert in workmen's compensation and, of course, auto accidents. Ron, we have callers, the number to call, and feel free to call and ask any questions you want. It doesn't come more expert than that. He has 25 years of experience doing Social Security. And as a result of you joining the firm, Ron, we have taken on, we used to refer out our Social Security work and workmen's compensation work, and now thanks to you we keep it in-house, and you are our in-resident expert on the matter. Can you have, before we take our call, our next caller, and the number, by the way, is 248-557-3300, can you be on SSI and own a home, yes or no?
As long as it doesn't have equity greater than $2,000. They look at your asset. What is the asset worth? So
if you buy a foreclosed home for $65,000,
and if you have equity in that home, that is an asset to you. They will look at that, and if it's over $2,000, you will be disqualified.
So how can you own a home and be on Social Security?
If you have no equity in the home.
What does that mean exactly in plain language?
Okay,
how can you go about purchasing a $65,000 home, have no equity in it, so that you can maintain your SSI?
Well, let's look at today's situation, how the housing has taken a crash. You buy a house, let's say, for $100,000. Paid $100,000 for it. Now it's only worth $50,000.
Right.
So you're in the hole $50,000.
Right.
You have no equity in that home.
Right.
Therefore, you have no asset greater than $2,000.
I just want to clarify that we often get settlements for pain and suffering for SSI recipients, and they're always concerned that if they put that money in the bank, they're going to lose their Social Security, which is correct. And I want to clarify that we're talking about is different from when we advise our clients and put them in contact with probate attorneys. We have a probate firm that we send our work to, where you get a settlement for Social Security. Yes, you can have that settlement, but you cannot deposit into the bank. There are various legal and ethical ways to use that money that you have gotten from a settlement for, say, for pain and suffering against another driver. It can be in the form of an annuity. It can be to purchase a home, a first-time home, and so forth and so on. So I want to make sure, or a special needs trust. Those are different from what we're talking about right now.
Yes, very different.
Okay. Can you own a car?
You can't own a car.
Okay. Is there a limitation on the value of the car? Can you have a Bentley?
No.
Okay.
Again, it comes down to what your asset is, and if you have $2,000 or more.
I want
of
to
an
tell you
asset.
that the last time I checked the statute, and I'm not an expert because I was asked that question on Layla's program, can you own a car and is there a limit on the value of the car? And what I was told is, actually I read it with my own two eyes. I read the applicable statute that said a car of quote unquote any value. So you can own a Rolls Royce.
Well, I've never had a client own a Rolls Royce. Most of my
Can you-
clients are fairly.
Can you own a private plane?
I would say no. You cannot own a private plane.
Right. So SSI benefits, are they ongoing, or do you have to like recertify, so to speak, every so many years? Once they give you SSI, and assuming that you don't do anything to disturb that, does it go on and on and on?
I would say it all depends on your age. If you're over 50, 55, Social Security, chances are 99% that they will not evaluate you. But if you're under 50, I tell everyone, be prepared for an evaluation. They have the right to evaluate you, and sometimes they do it every 3 to 5 years. Sometimes they leave you alone, and you never get evaluated.
What about Social Security disabilities, SSD?
The same rule applies.
Okay, the same rule. So it's kind of age. It kind of makes sense because there is the hope on the part of the government that if you're younger, maybe you have bounced back and you are no longer in need of these governmental.
That's correct.
By the way, we want to clarify that SSI and SSD are need-based governmental assistance. Regardless of whether or not you have a disability, you have to show that economically speaking, you have a need, or financially speaking, you have a need for them.
Yes.
Okay. You can't be well-to-do, so to speak, but on disability and get SSI or SSD.
That's where I spoke earlier about the limitations of SSI as opposed to SSD. SSD, you can still receive your benefit and still
Have a
live
pension and whatever.
and still live in
Stocks
your
and bonds.
nice house, stocks, bonds, pension. Yes, you can have all that on SSD.
But once again, SSD is among qualifying factors. You have to have had a substantial work history and earned so many credits in order for you to qualify for SSD.
Yes.
Apple for apple, is it fair to say that you get more money from the government monthly from SSD than from SSI?
Correct, because SSI is capped out. They're limited.
Okay, capped out. What is the minimum, if there is any such thing, and what is the maximum monthly SSI payment, please?
It fluctuates, but the maximum is about $750, and they also take deductions out of that for your Medicaid benefit. So they actually get $700 or a little less than $700 a month.
So the maximum you can have in monthly payments, if you are getting SSI, is around $700.
That is the maximum.
Let me ask you another quick question, and we want to invite callers to call at 248-557-3300. This is your chance to ask an expert on Social Security all the questions that you guys have in mind, or you direct to me all the time. I know a lot of people are listening and have questions. Please go ahead and ask them. This is your time. This is your chance. Do your kids also get SSI derivatively, so to speak? I mean, I know you have to have a disability, but I think with SSD, your children get something.
That's another difference between the two benefits. SSI.
So no as to SSI children, yes, or potentially yes as to SSD children.
Correct.
Why is that? What's the logic behind it?
Well, I think the logic behind that is that an SSD, because you were working, you were earning income to support your family.
Right.
So you're a wage earner supporting your family.
Right.
Now you've lost that wage. So the actual disabled person gets their Social Security disability benefit based on their wage, and then your children get a benefit because you were also supporting them based on your wage. So they depending on how many children you have, depends on how much they get, because there's a maximum family benefit, and that is usually split up between how many children you have.
I see. And do the kids also get Medicare when the parent is on SSD and gets Medicare?
They can qualify for it.
They can qualify, and what does one need to do to have Medicare?
Yeah, they don't automatically get it.
In a country of still 49 million uninsured people.
Right. No, the parent would just have to take them to Social Security, show that the family qualifies for it, and then the child can be put on it.
Okay. James, do we have a caller? We're going to take a caller, and then after that, I want to ask you, Attorney Ron Fuzio, to walk us through somebody who thinks has a disability. What does she or he need to do to qualify, and what if she or he gets denied? We have two callers, that's fine. We'll take the callers. We'll take the first caller, James. Hello?
Hiam.
Yes, hello, Hiam.
Good morning.
Good morning to
yes,
you.
I would like to know why do some people get denied, and then like when they had to reapply the second time around, they get approved. So, what are the guidelines where somebody gets rejected or denied, and then the second time around it's the same case?
Yes.
And
they luck out. Ron?
Right.
Okay, I like to say it's the luck of the draw. Somebody at Social Security with a little bit of knowledge actually picked up that file the second time, read it, understood it, applied the law properly, and then awarded the benefit.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's as simple as that. I'm telling you.
Okay.
It's a 50-50 toss-up, so there is no rhythm or rhyme to it.
None at all.
Really? Okay. Thank you, Hiam.
You're welcome.
We have many callers. Again, we're talking about SSI, SSD, even workman's compensation today with Attorney Ron Fuzio, one of my associates with 25 years of experience doing this. He is in my firm. He's our resident Social Security expert. We'll take another caller, James. Hello.
صباح الخير.
صباح النور.
أخوي جمال أنا بالنسبة قدمت I applied for SSI and they didn't reject me, but they want to approve my green card is revoked. What is the solution for the other thing? What is to prove them to get income check and Medicare?
Okay, let me interrupt and clarify that which is
already I came to your office.
Okay, and who have you met with in my office?
Attorney Ron Basil.
Okay, and this is who you're talking to right now, Ron Fuzio. Ron, before you answer this question, a lot of our Middle Eastern immigrants don't have a green card yet. To qualify for SSI, do you need to be a citizen? And if not, do you need to be a green card holder? The caller has had his green card for whatever reason revoked.
Yes, I remember this gentleman, and yes to both questions. You need to be a citizen.
So at the minimum, or a green card holder.
Yes.
Okay.
And
so you need to have a Social Security number, which you obtain after getting a green card.
Correct. Okay. And that's more of an immigration type issue that needs to be worked out. And I remember this situation, and I advised him, and I gave him the number of someone who does immigration in the area who's very good. I gave him her number. His problem was for a number of years he's had this type of problem.
Yes.
And I remember reviewing his records and advising him that for a number of years this was an issue that he had to have cleared up first before he could qualify for the benefit.
Okay, so no matter what, he has to have his green card unrevoked, so to speak.
Yes.
Okay. Three more callers. James, let's take the next call. Hello.
صباح الخير جمانة.
صباح النور.
شو صحتك؟
ماشي الحال استاذ، كيفك انت؟
الحمد لله.
تفضل.
جمانة أنا آخذ SSI، أوكي.
He's on SSI.
وطلعت لي لوتو مثلا 3 مليون أو مليونين. هاي الفلوس
مبروك.
لسه ما طلعت. قلت لو طلعت.
Yes.
يعني ممكن أن أعطيها لابني، أعطيها يمه ويشتري لي مثلا بيت ويشتري له بيت إلى آخره.
Okay. Thank you. Al-Ittisal. This gentleman is on SSI, and assuming that he earns $1 million or $2 million in the lottery, or he comes on an inheritance.
Yes.
Can he ask his son? Can he give the money to his son? Can he ask his son to buy a house for him, this or that for him?
No. You can't ask your son to do that because it's your money. I would say you'd have to find one of these other alternative routes to do with that money, whether it's a special needs trust,
an annuity.
That's the legal, proper way to do it.
Okay, so technically, the answer is no.
No.
Okay, all right. Do we have any more calls? Okay. The number to call is 248-557 3300, 248-557-3300. After the break, I'd like you to walk us through what one needs to do in order to apply for SSI/SSD. So we're going to take a quick break.
سوا على الهوا.
للمحامية جمانة كيروز باع طويل وناجح في قضايا الإصابات الشخصية وحوادث السيارات، حيث أن مكتبها يضم أكثر من 60 موظف وباقة ضخمة من المحامين المتخصصين في هذه القضايا. سجلها يتكلم عنها، وهي التي تفوقت بإنهاء أكثر من 99% من قضايا موكليها بالنجاح الكامل الذي مكنهم من الحصول على عشرات وعشرات الملايين من الدولارات سنويا. الاستشارة مجانية، والالتزام بمصالحكم من أهم أولوياتها. للمزيد من المعلومات يرجى الاتصال بالرقم 248-557-3645 948-557-3645.
Call 866 You're Right.
I'm Shumana Keirouz. I know what it's like to be refused your right. When you call, my attorneys and I will fight to get you the compensation you deserve.
Jemana handled my medical benefits and lost wages, and she got me a settlement.
If you have been injured, call 866 You're Right. We are back on the air with attorney Ron Puzio today, one of my associates who in my office specializes in Social Security benefits and workman's compensation. He has 25 years of experience. Leila had the wonderful idea of having him on the air today because the subject of SSI and SSD is such a hot topic and there is such an ongoing need for further education in our Middle Eastern community. Almost every household has applied for SSI or SSD. I was going to ask you to walk us through how does one go to apply, but Leila got a caller off the air who has a very important question, so I want to ask it before we forget. Can you be on SSI and work?
Technically, yes, you can, but I advise all my clients not to.
Why not?
When you work and you're on SSI, they immediately make a reduction on your benefit.
Correct.
And you're allowed to work and earn so much money before your benefit will get eaten down to zero. However, you only have so much time to do that. And if you work, I want to make sure I'm close enough to the mic. So if you,
no, you're fine.
If you work beyond that time period, you may get cut off your benefit. And a lot of times, Social Security, even though you're notifying them every month, hey, I'm working, I'm earning $100 or $200, Social Security, they're not that studious. They don't always keep track of everything. So you may be doing this for months or years, and I've had clients do this, and then after 2 or 3 or 4 years, Social Security comes knocking on your door. Sorry, you were overpaid. We're going to cut your money off. Oh, and by the way, you owe us $10,000. And then they come to my office, our office now, wanting to know, well, what did I do wrong? You didn't do anything wrong.
So the Social Security wasn't on top of it for the longest time.
Correct.
Leading the Social Security recipient to believe that everything is okay. And one day they may realize that they have overpaid. And now the Social Security recipient has to repay all that money that she or he has already spent.
Repay it, and their benefit is stopped.
And their benefits stop. What happens, by the way, if I hear that all the time, we have overpaid you need to pay us back. What happens if you don't repay your Social Security?
Well, the beauty is they don't come and pick you up.
Okay, so there is no jail in it.
No, there's no
Not right away.
No. What'll happen is the government is hoping that you do go back to work, or later on when you apply for benefits, that will always hang over you. So they will, if you qualify for benefits at a later point in time, they will get their money back, one way or another.
Okay, but my question is, they ask you today, you owe us $5,000, and you don't have the money to pay. What do?
You can work out a payment plan with them, if you can. If not, you just tell them, I'm sorry, I don't have money to pay you back now. They will hold that. It'll be like a lien on your life, a lien on your benefits for the rest of your life.
This is like a judgment that holds over your head for 10 years and can be renewed again.
Yeah, only they don't have to renew it.
Yeah, it's automatically renewed.
Automatic.
Because it's the government.
Yes.
Okay. We have 2 calls, and we'll take the next call, James.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes. My question, can you have Social Security and disability at the same time?
Okay, your question, can you have Social Security disability and SSI at the same time? Is that your question?
Yes. Disability, yes. And Social Security, regular Social Security.
All right, let's make sure. You mean regular Social Security, like retirement Social Security?
Yeah.
Okay. When you're receiving Social Security, whether it's Social Security disability or SSI, when you reach retirement age, it automatically transfers or converts over to a regular Social Security benefit. So at that point in time, there is no Social Security disability anymore. You get one benefit. It's a regular Social Security benefit.
And when do you get Social Security from retirement, age 65?
65.
Okay. That's interesting. I did not know that. So somebody who was receiving SSD, upon turning 65, it converts to Social Security retirement.
Correct.
What is higher, Social Security retirement or SSD?
Your Social Security disability is the same benefit you would receive as if you retired at the proper age.
Oh, really?
That's the benefit of getting Social Security disability, too, because you get that benefit. Let's say you're 50 years old. You get that benefit now at 50 as if you're 65 and properly retiring.
Do we have any more callers? James, the next call.
Good morning, Ms. Jumana.
صباح الخير يا أهلا
صباح
وسهلا.
الأنوار. Good morning, Mr. Ron.
Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. Jay Habba with you.
Hello,
please, I want thank you for taking my call first. My question is, a person getting SSI and getting the benefit for the last 3 years, and this person has a parents, and the parents, they are getting old, but the parents, they have a will to leave amount for estate worth about $200,000 when they die. So what the situation for the person will be, and what the person could do to save the SSI while getting this $200,000. I want the answer.
We are back to the $64 million question of can you be an SSI recipient and continue to receive your benefits while coming upon an amount of money, whether it's an inheritance, whether it is a settlement from a car accident, or whatever the case may be.
Yes. Well, since they're still alive, which is very good, I think you need to see
an estate plan.
Correct. Jumana, you're reading my mind, or I'm reading your mind, one of the two. You need to see a good estate planner so you can make arrangements for that.
And I can recommend a couple of names if you choose to call my office, by the way. I'm very proud to say I have completed all of my estate planning. It took about 10 weeks of meeting with my personal attorney every Friday afternoon. I am very proud to say my will is written, my medical directive is written, my powers of attorneys are written, my trust for my daughters is created. My life insurance is bought so I can die in peace. But on a very serious note, more people than not need solid estate planning advice. Do you agree, Ron?
Ms. Joanna.
Absolutely.
Yes. Excuse me. The $200,000, let's the person got it when the parents, they die. And could the person maybe invest this $200,000 to buy a house, an example, and still could keep the benefit of the SSI?
Yes, that's possible.
Yes.
I see.
But it is not as straightforward as you think it is. You really, and allow me to speak over you, Ron, you really need to do it in the presence of an estate planning attorney. It's not as simple as buying a home, putting it in your name or putting it in somebody else's name. It's not that easy. You really need to do it with the advice of an estate planning attorney. That's what estate planning is all about. The short answer is yes. The long answer is please don't do it alone without seeking the advice and the participation of an estate planning attorney.
Yeah, Ms. Jumana, thank you. That's very understandable to you and to Mr. Ryan. I appreciate it. So in this case, it's better for the person to act now while the parent is still alive.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, and I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, good luck,
Bye-bye.
sir. Good luck.
Thank you.
James, do we have any other calls? Okay, maybe I can squeeze in. There are two very important questions for me. One is the question I talked to you about, which is, walk us through the process of applying and what does one need to bring with oneself by way of proof. And the second question is, lawyers versus non-lawyers. We have people in the Middle Eastern community who are not lawyers, who do assist people when they get denied and help them appeal. So let's start with the first question. The first question being, somebody suspects that they have a qualifying disability and they want to apply. What do they do?
All right. The very first thing I would suggest is you go to your local Social Security office and ask them to run a copy of your work history, because that will tell you or give you enough information to know whether you can qualify for Social Security Disability or SSI. So you need to have enough credits. And Social Security can just print that off for you in 30 seconds.
So what do you need to tell the Social Security office? Can you please run for me my Social Security history?
Work history.
My work history?
Work history, and then you'll ask them if you have enough credits to qualify for SSD, yes.
Is the application for SSI different than the application from SSD?
I would say no, but Social Security says yes. They're different forms, but they're all pretty much the same questions.
Okay. So, and then what do you do with that application? By the way, is it in Arabic as well, so that Arabic-speaking people can fill it out in Arabic, or no?
No, it's not. You'll have to probably let them know ahead of time so they can make arrangements if they need a translator. Like, I've gone to the local Social Security office in Dearborn many times. They have translators there every day.
On site that help you, that sit with you and help you fill out the form?
Yes, they will.
Okay. What do you need to bring with you by way of proof to show that you have a disability?
Well, you don't have to show or prove any disability at that time.
You give them the name of the doctors?
Yes. All they'll do is they'll ask you what your alleged disability is, and you will give them a list of all your... And remember this, don't just go in there and say, I hurt my back. When you have diabetes, high blood pressure, you might have depression, and you have a lot of other medical conditions. Give them all your medical conditions.
In car accidents, given that a number of our clients have already applied, if not gotten SSI, and then they are in a car accident where they're alleging all these injuries, we get their Social Security application, and we see that they have alleged every single body part in their body hurts under the sun. And now we're telling the car insurance company that this is a new injury when they have 18 months prior said the same thing to the Social Security office. I guess what you're saying is, if you have an injury, if you are hurting, say it, but don't come up with stuff. Correct?
Correct.
Just to pump up your case for Social Security. Is that what I hear you say?
Yes.
Because people tell me, oh, no, I said yes and yes and yes, so that the Social Security office sees or thinks that I'm really hurt and will give me Social Security.
Well, for Social Security, you might not qualify if you just have a bad back and you have numbness down one of your legs. You still may not qualify for a disability benefit because they will find that you could do other work in a light-duty capacity. However, if you have a psychological condition or high blood pressure... In addition to that, the injury, then you may... When they put all the conditions together and all the limitations together, you may qualify for your benefit.
So then when you are applying, when you are filling out that application, you want to list all of your disabilities. You don't want to add things. You want to list all of your illnesses, all of your conditions that make you believe that, you qualify. You don't want to put anything that isn't true, but you want to put everything that you know is bothering you.
That is correct.
Okay. And then once you do that, what do you do after that? Then you give them also the name of your medical providers?
They will ask you for the name, address, and phone number of each of your medical providers.
Okay, so make sure when you go to fill out your application, you bring with you in advance the names, the addresses, and the phone numbers of the doctors. Okay.
And they'll also ask you for your work history. So you'll need to tell them about the places you've worked for the last 10 to 15 years.
Okay.
And what you've done at those jobs, meaning what type of labor you were doing.
Right. Okay. You fill out that application. Then what happens?
Then Social Security is supposed to send for your medical records. They don't always do it.
Interesting. That's why a lot of people get denied.
That's why they get denied. And even if they do get your records...
So they're not doing their job, in other words.
I don't want to say they're not doing their job. There's a glut of applications.
Okay.
Just because the economy's crashed.
So many people are applying, so...
Yes, there's a lot of applicants. They have limited staff, so they only get what they get to. That's why I said earlier...
By the way, so the Social Security offices, this is federal law, right?
Yes.
So when there was the government shutdown a couple of months ago, we couldn't even call anybody at Social Security. Everybody was off on a vacation for 17 days.
We couldn't call anybody, and our hearings were canceled with the administrative law judges. Everything was put on hold.
Right, okay. So you apply, and then what?
You apply, and they're supposed to make a decision within 3 months or so, although it does take longer.
Okay. And then when they make a decision, they'll send you a letter saying, congratulations, you're approved.
They'll send you a form letter, but all you really need is what's written at the top, whether you're approved or denied. And most of the time you'll be denied initially, and then you have 60 days to appeal, and only 60 days.
Okay, so within 3 months, but it could take longer, you will receive a letter that will say, congratulations, you have been approved, or that will say you have been denied, the rejection letter. You have 60 days from the date of that letter to appeal.
Correct.
That's when people start calling our office, or they come and they say, look, I have applied and I have been denied. I need your services.
Correct.
Now I must ask you, why should they retain, and I really do not know, why should they retain a lawyer? Because we had that discussion coming in the car, and I said, what's your opinion on whether or not they should retain a lawyer or a non-lawyer with good experience who has been before the administrative law judge can also do as good a job? What's your take on that?
Okay.
Because we do have a number of people in our Middle Eastern community, and some are very competent from what I hear, who do Social Security appeals, and they are not lawyers.
Correct. Two basic reasons why you would want or need a lawyer, and I'm not disparaging the others who are not lawyers who represent these clients. Some do a very nice job, but first and foremost, you need to submit a brief to the judge before the hearing. And from my experience of doing this, the attorneys will actually know the law, know the regulations, know how to apply the law, and there's a lot of intricacies in the law, in the statutes, that the lawyer will know and know how to apply to the case that will help you win your case. Where I've seen in my practice, the non-attorneys, they don't quite know or grasp all those intricacies. So that's the first reason. Second reason is that when I'm in a hearing, I'm laying the groundwork for a potential appeal. So if I don't win this hearing...
An appeal of an appeal?
Yes.
Okay.
Because we're having a hearing with an administrative law judge. They're supposed to be impartial, but most of the time that judge is asking questions not favorable for your client. So you get the feeling it's not going your way. So you've got to lay the groundwork right there for a potential appeal to the appeals council.
Okay. Can you be a non-lawyer and appeal to the appeals council?
You can.
Okay.
But that's where a lawyer comes in. I think a lawyer has a better grasp of the legal issues that can be appealed. We have a better grasp of, while we're in the hearing, what we're looking for, how to lay the groundwork at the hearing so that when you appeal, you have a good record, because you can't go back and change the record.
That's right.
You only have
much
what you
like
have.
Any circuit court.
Exactly.
Okay, you're laying the groundwork for a potential appeal. So let's take the first caller, James. Hello.
Hello. صباح الخير.
صباح النور.
أخي جوانا بالنسبة إذا واحد يأخذ SSI وراح قدم على شغل واشتغل، وهذا العمل إنه ما يثبتوه بالعمل أو بالشركة إلا بعد شهر، يعني لازم يخبر ال SSI إنه اشتغل، لكن لنفرض هو بطلوا خلال 20 يوم وبطلوا، شلون يعني هاي؟
Okay. If somebody is on SSI and has applied for work and found work, and he is on kind of probation, and that, you know, he has worked for he won't be confirmed to be a continued worker for, say, a month, and he has worked 20 days. Does he have a duty? So it didn't go anywhere, from what I understand from the caller, in that he did work but did not continue working. In under a month, he left work. Does he have a duty to notify his Social Security advisor or counselor? Yes. When does that duty arise?
I would say tell Social Security as soon as possible that you're working or you're going to start work or you've started work as soon as possible, because then they will require you to bring in any of your pay stubs, anything that shows what type of income you've earned.
Okay.
So you should
Thank you, Ron. Let me ask you very quickly before we take the second caller, is there such thing as Social Security fraud? Can you commit fraud on Social Security office?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And they do.
Tell us a little bit about that and what the consequences are.
Well, they do look for, and that's a federal offense. Now that you can go to jail for.
Okay. And what is Social Security fraud?
Alleging that you're disabled when you are not disabled, because now you are accepting federal funds under a fraudulent application.
Okay. So, alleging and obtaining SSI or SSD when you are actually working under the table.
Working under the table, or that you're not disabled. I mean, they don't do it very often in Social Security.
I was going to say that how much do they enforce these laws?
Well,
they're on the books. We know that.
They're on the books. They don't.
I mean, do you know that adultery is a crime?
Yes.
Who enforces it? Nobody enforces adultery.
Right. Our federal government, they don't have the resources basically to follow people around and have surveillance on them, like in a workers' compensation case, so to speak, or
a car accident.
Or a car accident case.
Right.
But they do have that right. So the fraud is on the books. So you've got to be very careful.
Somebody who is a green card holder. That's very risky, right?
Oh, very risky.
Because their green card can be revoked, or their citizenship, or it could be fraud is a crime of moral turpitude, quote unquote, and that can affect your ability, from what I understand from my immigration attorney, law attorney friends. That's one of the grounds for you being deported back to your home country, is if you have committed a crime, quote unquote, of moral turpitude. A fraud is one such thing.
Exactly, and that's why it's very important, especially for someone with a green card.
Can we take the second caller, please? Hello? Hello?
Hello, صباح الخير.
صباح النور.
سؤالي هو إذا واحد قدم على disability ورفضه وبعدين راح سوى appeal وعنده كل التقارير ما يكذب عليهم، تقارير موجودة مع دكاترة، الابيل عجباه راح يودوهم الدكاترة مالتهم لو بس راح يشوفون هاي التقارير اللي عنده.
I think that the lady is asking about, is there such a thing as an IME within the context of a Social Security appeal? Do they send you to their own doctors to see whether you are really quote-unquote disabled?
Yes, they do. And there is a federal law that says you are required to go
and cooperate. You have a duty to cooperate, just like with car accidents.
Yes. How
often does it happen? Somebody is appealing their Social Security negative finding. Do they always schedule an IME kind of?
Years ago, it was rare. Now it's almost routine.
Really?
On almost all Social Security cases, they will send you to a doctor, and the doctor is not your friend that they're sending you to. You got to remember that.
They are beholden to the federal government, and they want to save the federal government money. Is it fair to say? Well, I can tell you that within the context of car accidents, those insurance companies will send to their own doctors. We know that they are beholden to the insurance company because 99% the results are the same, the language is the same, they just change a few words.
Yeah, correct.
Is it just that bad in the context of Social Security?
It's very close to that. Very close to that.
Wow. Okay.
And so if you do have those types of examinations, you need to go. You need to cooperate. If you have any medical records that you can bring to them for them to review, I would bring those records with you.
How would you deal with that if you are representing somebody appealing their denial, Social Security denial, and they get sent to their IME? You have a chance to talk about that in your hearing. How do you refute the IME findings as a lawyer?
Well, this is where it's very important that you have your own treating doctors.
Okay.
And that you see and follow with these treating doctors on a fairly regular basis so that I can argue, or your lawyer can argue in front of the judge, that this one-time examination is not indicative of your physical disability or your condition.
I see.
And that there's a voluminous amount of medical evidence that the
goes
judge...
the other way.
Correct.
Okay, so the weight of the evidence will point more toward your treating doctors and what they're saying versus this one-time doctor who saw you and didn't even treat you, actually examined you.
Exactly, and that's what the administrative law judges do in their decisions. They'll actually say that the one-time examination was not accurate, I'm not relying upon that, and that the vast amount of the medical evidence supports your condition. That's how they write their decisions.
Yes, and very quickly, that 60-day time to appeal from the rejection letter, that's a strict rule, right? If you don't appeal within 60 days, minus certain exceptions, you really have to reapply all over again and get denied again and so forth.
Correct, that is right.
And I know time is nearing. Layla had a very good question. She said with all the federal cuts that are taking place, in that the federal government that helps every state is giving less money to every state, how is that impacting people who are applying for Social Security? And is it at all impacting people who are getting Social Security in that their benefits are being reduced?
Well, the first impact is there's more people applying, and Social Security is therefore denying more people.
There is more people applying because of the economy, right?
Correct.
Okay. And now the federal government is giving less help to the state.
Correct.
So,
and how that impacts everybody is if you're low income, you can apply to the state for certain benefits, certain weekly benefits that they might help you pay your rent. They'll give you food stamps. And let's say years ago they might accept 100 people a month. Well, now because of the cutbacks, maybe they're only accepting 10 people a month.
Right.
So that doesn't mean those other 90 don't need it.
So that pie is smaller now, and it's going to have to be shared amongst less people.
Yes.
So then the federal cuts are impacting in that less people are now being accepted for SSI.
Correct.
What about people who are already getting their monthly benefits? Are the federal cuts going to affect and reduce their monthly payments?
No, it's not reducing their payments.
Okay. I am being told that our time is up. I want to thank Istis Hassan Hamid, our videographer today. I want to thank you, Layla. I want to thank our producer, James. And I want to thank our guest today, Attorney Ron Puzio, who spoke for the full hour on Social Security, SSI, and SSD. The number to call Ron is 248-557-3645. One more time, 248-557-3645. Ron, I really appreciate you being here this early for us, and I really appreciate you being in my office. You are certainly the go-to expert on Social Security matters in my office, and it's an issue that is a daily issue, and I really thank you for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jumana, and thank you for having me here this morning.
Our pleasure.
سوا على الهوا سوا على الهوا يأتيكم عبر أثير إذاعة
صباح الخير صباح الخير أمريكا أمريكا.
It was my job to save people until one night I was in a car accident. I couldn't work, and the insurance company, they fought me every step of the way. I didn't know what to do.
Call 866 Your Rights.
I'm Shumana Kairouz. I know what it's like to be refused your rights. When you call, my attorneys and I will fight to get you the compensation you deserve.
Jumana handled my medical benefits and lost wages, and she got me a settlement.
If you have been injured, call 866 Your Rights.